Hey everyone, Steve here. I don't normally make videos like this, and this is going to be unedited and uncut, but I just want to let you guys know, after a very long time at waiting for the result, it is really nice to know that Joe Biden has been projected to have won the presidency. And I can breathe a breath of fresh air. Now, I know that we're not totally out of the woods yet. There's still a lot that needs to happen, and things aren't going to change overnight. But I just feel like a huge load has been lifted off of the shoulders of so many Americans just by hearing this news. Now, I don't want to make this a super long video. So let me describe my thoughts on why so many of us have that thought, with something that I think is fairly comparable. So a couple years ago, I have voted in the past, and I've never really been super open about my political beliefs. I'll just say it bluntly right now. I fall slightly left of center. I'm not a flaming liberal or a flaming conservative. I'm slightly left of center. And I have voted in the past, but I always, just voted for who I thought was right for the job without necessarily looking into it a lot and without necessarily paying a ton of attention. But a couple years ago, when we had our congressional candidates elected, it was very different. The reason why is this. The Republican candidate was a neo-Nazi. And I'm not saying the guy was like a neo-Nazi. I'm not saying that the guy had the characteristics of a neo-Nazi. I'm saying the guy literally identified as a member of the Nazi Populist Party. Now, obviously, I'm going to vote against this guy because fuck Nazis. And, it was shocking to see that somebody like that was able to get a chair at the table, or was being considered for a chair at the table. Now, luckily, he didn't win. But what was shocking to me was how many people voted for him. I don't remember the exact number or percentage, but it was something around 20%. And I get it. I can guarantee you that not everybody who voted for him knew that he was a Nazi. A lot of people probably just voted for him because they were like, I'm tired of the Democrats. I'm going to vote Republican because Republicans hold my ideals. But at that point, it doesn't matter. Because of that ignorance and not paying attention, let's say the results were flipped. Let's say 80% of people thought that or did that. There's a real chance that we could have had a Nazi representing us in Congress. Luckily, that's not the case. And I'm not saying that Trump is a Nazi, because I don't think he is. I do think that he is a grossly incompetent bully that cannot accept that he makes mistakes and often points fingers at others who either didn't make the mistake or made a mistake that was completely unrelated to the mistake that he made. And that's one of the biggest things I don't like about Donald Trump. Regardless of what you think of things he's done in terms of policy, and regardless of whether or not you think that his business-minded mindset, which isn't even really that good, because he tried to sell steaks at the Sharper Image once, and I'm not kidding about that. But what I'm getting at is, regardless of what you think of being a Democrat or Republican, and regardless of what you thought about Trump's fiscal policies, he demonstrated so many times he had no idea what the hell he was doing in terms of actual policy and in terms of being a good president. He wasn't a good president. He didn't even come close. I don't want a bully in office. I don't want somebody in office who thinks of himself before he thinks of the American people. I don't want somebody in office who thinks that it's better to not tell people things that could drastically affect them, like about COVID-19, and downplaying those things when they really are serious, just because he doesn't want them to panic. I don't want somebody who wants to ban people who follow an entire religion from entering the country just because they have that religion and just because a few extremists have been associated with terrorist attacks. I don't want somebody who wants to make it harder for people to be able to come into the country instead of giving them a path to citizenship. Most of all, I don't want somebody who uses bully tactics to get whatever he wants, and then when he doesn't get what he wants, blames people for it. That's not even just not being presidential. That's just straight up not being a person who has a conscience. That's not being a good person. And that's why, I'll openly admit, I voted for Joe Biden. Do I think that Joe Biden's perfect, and do I think that things will change overnight with him in office? No. But I think that voting for Joe Biden put us on a much better path. And honestly, for people who voted for Donald Trump this time around, that's why I gave my little anecdote about the Nazi who ran in my congressional district. Again, Donald Trump's not a Nazi, but he's not a good man, and he's not good for us. And honestly, that's why I have trouble understanding how anybody could have voted for Donald Trump this time around. When I try to understand, I keep in mind what happened a couple years ago when people voted for that Nazi candidate. Just remember, it's better to speak out against something that you think is wrong and actively be against it than to be complacent just because you don't know about something or you're okay with something that somebody does that is very wrong. But yeah, I'm not going to lie. Just with this news, I feel like I can breathe a giant sigh of relief, and a bunch of other people can too. Those are my thoughts. Let's see what happens.